A big GOP win in the U.S. Senate yesterday. North Carolina Republican Thom Tillis declared the winner over his Democrat challenger, Cal Cunningham. Something none of the polls predicted, and it could have a major impact on the balance of power in the Senate. Joining us to discuss our panel of the day, Brandon Straka, founder of the Walkaway Campaign. You can catch him on Twitter. Also, Joseph Pinion, a Republican strategist, here to weigh in. Great to see you guys. Joe, I'll ask you first. As we know, Alaska still counting votes, but Republican Dan Sullivan is leading there. There are, of course, those two runoff races in Georgia. How important was this North Carolina win for the Republicans holding on to power in the Senate?
Oh, look, I mean, I think there are many of us who believe this race should have been called a very long time ago. I mean, it seems statistically improbable that the Democrats were going to find a way to win there. I mean, they basically had us waiting in limbo for the last week. And I think similarly in Alaska, I mean, this race is over. So I think, look, this is going to come down to the state of Georgia. We're going to have two runoff elections down in that state. Obviously, every attorney, every strategist is going to basically be on a one-way ticket to Georgia to make sure that we hold on to those two Senate seats, to make sure that irrespective of what happens in the presidential race, that we have the firm check on the upper chamber of Congress.
Yeah, as you say, all eyes on Georgia at this point. Brandon, I know you do a lot of voter registration and rallying efforts for the president and the Republican Party as well. Do you plan to head to Georgia anytime soon?
I certainly would, and there are talks of doing that possibly next week. My immediate plans right now are to head to Washington, D.C. tomorrow to join this Stop the Steal movement to call for free and fair elections in this country. So that's what's immediately on my plate right now. I have to be honest with you, I really saw November 3rd as the finish line, like I think most Americans did. I budgeted the majority of my energy going full out going into November 3rd. And now I'm like, wait, we're not done working yet. So, yeah, never say never. I may be headed to Georgia absolutely next week.
Okay, as you say, March for Trump is what I wanted to clarify, and that's in Washington coming up this week. Okay, very good. But let's talk about, again, back to those Senate races. I want to show some polls, if we can pull those up, because nearly every pre-election poll, except for Trafalgar and ECU, got it wrong. When it comes to this North Carolina Senate race. If you look at it there, they all have Cunningham up by a few points. In some cases, 6 points, 5, 10, go down the list there. Only, again, a few polls, Trafalgar being one of them, and ECU getting it correct. Joe, what does this say about our polling system and these polling groups and whether or not we can really trust them?
Well, there's clearly an abundance of evidence that says that polls cannot be trusted, and beyond that, that the methodologies that pollsters are using in the 21st century world clearly need to be left behind. So, look, I think that if you look at what happened in 2016 and now here in 2020, pollsters need to go back to the drawing board. But I think particularly in the place of North Carolina, you're looking at a challenger running against Senator Thom Tillis. They put character on the ballot that said that the president of the United States was devoid of character and that Thom Tillis had no character for supporting him, and yet at the same time was engaged in personal activities that made many of the voters blind, and not only that, but was lying about it to people. So I think here's what people fail to understand, that you cannot question the integrity of the Republican Party without questioning the integrity of the people that place their trust in our party and our values, and that, I think, is the takeaway when you look at what happened in North Carolina.
Wow, some really great points made there. Okay, I want to switch gears while you both are standing by and talk about another headline that has made some news. And Brandon, I'll go to you on this one here because it has to do with an LGBT publication, Pink, publishing an article that claims that Pete Buttigieg would be the nation's first openly gay cabinet member if Biden appoints him and if Biden wins. But as Pink previously acknowledged, or at least wrote an article about, Rick Grenell, Trump's acting director of national intelligence, would have been the first. Brandon, you've come on the show. You've said you're a member of the LGBT community yourself. What just happened here? Did they forget that they had previously published an article about Rick Grenell, or are they moving past it completely?
No, they're just trying to rewrite history. And this is what this is what Democrats do all the time. This is what liberals do all the time. But particularly when you sort of start to faction off into these minority communities, it becomes even worse. So the narrative is, as we know, I'm not surprising anybody here with this, that, you know, people on the left are morally virtuous and superior. People on the right are racist, bigots, Nazis, white supremacists, homophobic, etc. So when Donald Trump shattered that narrative, and many, you know, people in the conservative movement right now are shattering this narrative of Republicanism being a party for only straight white people. This was no good to the people on the left. And this is, I call this time and again, the oppression industry. This is something that exists only on the left. These groups like the Human Rights Campaign, like the NAACP, like GLAAD. These are organizations that only make money by pushing the narrative that minority communities in America are marginalized and they are oppressed. They can't have a headline like a Republican president appointing the very first openly gay cabinet member. This is the same news publication that has completely invalidated me as the leader of the Walkaway campaign, doing something that has been successful and well organized in the Republican movement. They've referred to me as a white supremacist. They've referred to me as a neo-Nazi. But I was really, really disgusted when I saw this with Rick Grinnell, because that's a major accomplishment, especially for an LGBT person. So to completely invalidate that, especially by a news organization that claims to be about empowerment and lifting up the gay community, is completely hypocritical and disgusting.
Again, we've heard Democrats call for unity and to heal at this point. Very interesting. Okay, Joseph Pinion, Brandon Straka joining us live this morning. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.